Jake here. Today I'm going to talk about the wood turning tools that I have and why I think they're good for beginners. Before we get started, I'll just say that I don't owe anybody anything and they don't owe me anything. I bought almost everything up here. There's a couple things that were gifted to me and I'll tell you what was gifted and who gifted it. This is the stuff I have and I'm being honest with you. So let's get started. I've been turning for less than 2 years now. My first video went out July 7th of 2018. So that's less than 2 years. People take a lifetime learning this stuff. So I'm not trying to be up here acting like I know everything or whatever. I'm just telling you what helped me as a beginner. And knowing what you want is part of the equation. When I first started doing this, I knew that I wanted to do resin. I knew that I was intimidated by all the choices that you have out there for wood turning tools. And then I also knew that my time in the shop is very, very, very valuable. So, I mean, I don't get out here as much as I'd like, just like most of you. It's very valuable. So if I have to spend a little bit of money to be able to create things right now, then that's what I'm gonna do. I watched a lot of videos and spent a lot of time researching and pricing and all this stuff, and finally, and I do have online friends and friends in the YouTube community and everything, as I call them up, and Jamie Page is one that told me just buy some easy wood tools and be done with it. I got the lathe for free, so I figured I could spend a little bit of money on this stuff. This stuff is not the cheapest stuff, but hindsight for me is it gives me confidence and I create cool things with it. So it's all worth it. And there's a small learning curve. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you what I had for the first year. And then after that, I'll explain the rest of the things I have out here, but I'll show you what I have for the first year and I'll explain these tools. So let's do it. Well, I think before you get into any hobby or any craft or anything safety, you need to know how to be safe first. And I think this is probably one of the most popular face shields there are around. And it's pretty well built and it's cheap enough or whatever. I'm gonna have links to everything here below so you can go check it out and just look it over and see what you think. But here's the face shield that I use. It's lightweight, pretty strong. You don't think you need a face shield until you watch videos of somebody getting cracked in the face, and then you're like, oh, I need a face shield. So there's that. I mess with stabilized wood a lot, and you're gonna need a respirator to mess with that kind of material. A lot of the woods are dusty too, so this one's real lightweight. It's real comfortable to wear, and it's pink. Of course, my lathe came with a faceplate, a spur and live center, and there's nothing wrong with using that stuff to start with. First major thing I bought was an Easy Chuck. Once again, it's not cheap, but it is super cool. This thing right here, you turn back this ring, and these are real easy to change, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So these are the Easy Wood Tools mid-size carbide tip cutters, and they come with regular cutters, and if you're gonna do resin, you need to have negative rake, and I'm gonna show you the difference in a second. Center finders, I have two different kinds of center finders, and they both work just fine. I like having both around in case you need one or the other. I kinda like this one better. It's pretty cool to watch visually. If it's already kinda round, you can get it dead center. And then what I do is I have this center punch, and it's an automatic one, so all you gotta do is push down and that dents the wood for you. Jacob's chuck, that just holds any kind of drill bit, whatever. I use Forstner bits to hollow out whatever I'm turning. I think this was a Nova brand. Its price point's pretty good on it, and it works well. This is a high-speed steel parting tool. It's a real good price point also. As you can see, I've burned it, and when I need it, it works pretty good. I also have a card scraper. This comes in handy for when you need the side of your material really flat, like on the Wolverine project. I wanted that cylinder I made real flat, so I'll get this up there and just lightly scrape it, and then you can see where your low spots are, or where you need to turn more, or where you need to sand more, or whatever. These are real handy. Just be careful when you're holding it. This back here is a Bill 3-in-1 buffing kit. I use this on everything I have resin. These are the 3 compounds. This is wax. There's 2 compounds and a wax, and you load them up on there. I have a sanding video. I'll put a link up there. I knew that I was going to be doing resin, so I knew I'd have to buff it, and I watch other people's videos, and this is what most of them had. And I also have ones that you go on a drill. Same kind of thing. I have one for this one for this one for that one. And you can get into nooks and crannies that you can't get into with this big one. Here's a nice close-up of our carbides, and I'm going to show you the difference between negative rake and the regular ones. So here they are. We have 3 different shapes. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you can see on the top of these, this one right here is flat, so that's the regular one. The ones that have a chamfer or an edge on them, that's going to be your negative rake, and it's going to be way less of an aggressive cut. So the flat one like that, the circle ones have a flat and a chamfered one, and so do the square ones. Super flat, and then the chamfered one, it's going to be way more aggressive of a cut with the regular cutters for wood. This set right here is a mid-size set. There's 2 sizes bigger than these, 2 sets bigger. This is a mid-size set, and it comes with a rougher, finisher, and a detailer. Obviously this is going to rough out the material with a square in. If you want to make something flat, you're going to use this. This is going to make curved shapes, and then this, I mostly use this for to get the tenons right, to get the dovetail on the tenon right. But this is what a set comes with, a flat, round, pointy. So the cool thing about the carbide tips is when you think it gets dull right here, then you're going to take that, get it in there, loosen it up, and you're just going to rotate that a little bit and tighten it back up. And now you're going to have a fresh, clean carbide to cut with. And then the square one, same thing. Loosen that up. Spin it one. Boom, brand new, fresh cutting surface. No sharpening, no messing around, and you're back on the lathe and cutting. Just to recap a little bit, what you see on camera right now is everything I had for the first year. So everything, you can go back and look at the videos, everything I've done in that first year was done with just these 3 tools. So now we're going to go over to the lathe. I'm going to show you the chuck, and then I'm going to show you the principle behind using the carbide tools. So before you start buying your chuck or any kind of chuck for any lathe, is you need to know what size of spindle you have here on your headstock. Mine is 1 inch by 8 TPI, 8 threads per inch. And so you need to know that before you start ordering stuff. So we thread it on here. So it's on. So you have your chuck key. You stick it in here, and as normal chucks, you spin it to open or close these jaws. With these jaws, you spin this ring in the back, and that will get smaller or bigger like that, and you can kind of get it close before you start messing around with this. So one of the cool things about this chuck is how fast you can change your jaws. Here's the ones that comes with the chuck, and here's some other ones, and I'll show you these in a minute. But I'm just going to do this. I haven't been practicing. I'm going to show you how fast it is. I'm not going to go fast forward or anything. Here we go. You just stick this little key in here. Take that. Now, I don't know how fast that was, but it was pretty painless. It's pretty nice, and all of their jaws fit in the same way. They're all that fast. So there's the chuck. There's what the cool things about this chuck are. Basically, it's awesome. So here's the finishing tool, and I'm going to show you how this took the intimidation out for me. With traditional tools, you're sharpening and you're which angle do you hold it at and all that kind of stuff, which, not knocking it, it was just intimidating to me. So how you use these is you're going to hold it flat on your tool rest, 90 degrees to your workpiece. Your tip is going to be, you want your tip to be exactly center with the spindle, with what you're turning, with the center of the headstock. And so you're going to put your tool rest a little bit lower than center so that your tip of your carbide will be center. Right there. So all you're doing is you're moving this back and forth, or you're turning it like this, you're leaving it level. There's none of this business right here. There's no turning it like this. It's all hold it level and then make the shapes you want to make. Is all you got to do. So I made a couple things with these, and it gave me so much confidence, and now I'm trying, bigger and better things. But that's the principle behind these tools: is 90 degrees, center with the center of your headstock, the center of your chuck, the center of your workpiece, however you want to say it. 90 degrees, make some shapes. The different shapes on the carbides make different shapes on your workpiece. And then after that, sandpaper's your friend. Now the things that I was worried about at first before I bought this stuff were all met. I wanted to turn resin. Here we are, the negative rakes let me do that. I was intimidated. I just showed you how easy this stuff is. And then I want to make things right now. It's all covered. So this is the stuff I had for the first year. And then I had the opportunity to go to Maker Central. And while I was there, Easy Wood said, hey, you want to spend an hour or two at the booth with us? So that was cool because I got to meet a lot of people and hang out with a lot of people, and it was really, really cool and flattering that they would ask me to do it. And then while I was there, I had the opportunity to use the rest of the tools that they had. And I was a fan before, now I'm really a fan because it just makes everything so much easier. While I was there, I had two gifts. Easy Wood gave me, this one says Maker Central on it. Anybody that did demos up there, and some other people, Heidi Jacobs, got one of these, and they're cool. It's like memorabilia from memories of me being there. But it has a micro detailer on it, which I didn't have one before. So of course I put a negative rake on that, and the one that I had been using, I put a regular one on that. So now I don't have to switch carbides back and forth. And then the other gift was a Carl Jacobson Signature Series wire burner. Jamie Page bought that for me while we were there. Thank you, Jamie. So out of everything up here that you're going to see, these are the two gifts. I've purchased everything else. So I'll adjust the camera and I'll show you what else I got for the rest of the last year. Everything that I've got, and then I'll give you my thoughts at the end. So after having two of these detailers and having a negative rake in one and a regular carbide in the other, that got me to thinking that it would be very, very convenient if I had a set of these tools with the regular carbide in there while I had the negative rakes in the other set. So these ones are their minis. It's one size smaller than the mids, which you can see here. This is a mid size. And so now when I'm doing something just wood, I pull these out and I use these. And it's super convenient. There's two sizes smaller than these two if you're doing real tiny stuff. But this works for me to have these for wood and the other ones for wood and resin. And while I was there, I got to use their different jaws, and that was one thing I struggled with, was how do I fix stuff? I can get things right out of the cast, and whether it's in a cup or a jar or whatever, and something here is going to fit. These ones are good for putting pin blanks in there, and then drilling. It holds it all center, and I got all the way up to a 12-inch cold jaw, which they call the big easy jaws. So I got all those. It's been super convenient. And let me move the camera to show you what else I got. So I ordered this steady wrist from PSI Woodworking. It was probably the best price point out there. I haven't got to use it yet, but stay tuned for the videos in the future, and I'll let you know. I'll give you an honest opinion about it. I was looking at stuff, and it was like a kind of an impulse buy. I was like, man, that's cheap enough to where even if it doesn't work, I can use parts off of it and make my own. These face plates are from Easy Wood. They're pretty thick. They're lightweight, but they're nice and strong. And they have set screws in here for if you want to do reverse sanding, you know, so it doesn't come unscrewed. These two have the set screws. The small one doesn't. So I have those. And then I was super, super lucky to have Carl Jacobson in the shop over the holidays. And he had a mid-size number one hollower. And I was amazed by it. Well, he was throwing shavings all over the shop. So right after they left, I got online and I bought one of these, and it's just a whole lot smaller diameter cutter, so it takes less, so it makes beautiful ribbons, and it will remove some material pretty quickly. I think I mentioned that I have a sanding and polishing video, and part of wood turning is sanding. This sandpaper, it's from Merca. It's called Abernet. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's called Abernet. I buy the big rolls of it because I hate buying stuff. So if I can only buy it once and don't have to buy it for a long time, that's what I do. They make the little wood turner sets with the netted sandpaper. Those are good if you're doing pens or doing real small things, but I tend to do bigger things. And once again, I hate buying stuff. So this is what I like to use. And then I have 120, 240, 320, and 400. And then I wet sand with some wet sandpaper. All I'll do is I'll just cut a little piece of these off, and they last a long time. But I got 400 to 1,000. And then you do your abrasive paste and stuff like that. But this stuff I'm pretty impressed with it because it lasts so much longer than regular sandpaper. And I'll have links, once again, I'll have links to all this stuff below. And so now we can talk about my final thoughts. Hopefully I've taken out some of the intimidation of this, some of the mystery. This is real simple stuff here, and it doesn't matter if you're doing traditional carbide. Pick one and go with it is what I say. This stuff is super, super fun to do, and you can make amazing things. I do resin casting, stabilized wood, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to see more of that kind of thing, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff. Check out the links below. We'll see you next time, and y'all be good.